I'm back with Rod Blagojevich, the former governor of Illinois. We're talking about political targeting. In your case, Rod, the targeting was coming, well, there was a prosecutor involved, I think Fitzgerald, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember his name. But wasn't this ultimately a targeting by Obama, in that Obama seems to have felt, this is my person, I want to get this guy in there. The governor is standing in my way. What if we can get him on something? Do you believe that Obama himself was behind your targeting? And I ask that because of a larger question. We now see, for example, Durham testifying just yesterday that, hey, there was a meeting in the Oval Office and Obama was there and Biden was there, and they were told that the CIA wants you to know that the Hillary Clinton campaign is trying to sort of set Trump up here. They're trying to frame Trump. So my point is that this wasn't a case where the FBI was gullible or Obama was gullible. They were informed in the Oval Office of the fact that this was all originating from the Clinton campaign. And they decided, well, that's okay. Let's go right on ahead.
Dinesh, that's a good question. In the wake of having seen what they've been doing to President Trump since the moment he became president, and what you just referenced and what they're doing to him today, as I think back on what happened to me, is it possible that your interpretation that Obama may have had more of a hand in this than I ever imagined? I believe it is potentially possible. I mean, the fact of the matter is the FBI, they taped all of my telephone calls. And yet to this day, 98% of those tapes are being suppressed under seal. I wasn't even allowed to use them in court to defend myself. The night before I was arrested, I had made a decision on who my choice for the Senate was. This woman named Lisa Madigan, if I could get a political deal that would help the people of Illinois, and Obama was going to be, Rahm Emanuel, Obama's chief of staff, was going to be the go-between. They then arrested me the next morning at 6 o'clock, I believe, to stop that from happening. And then it took 4 months to, basically twist arms and get the indictment that they brought with a grand jury. But they arrested me on a criminal complaint, which is never happens, just to stop me, I believe, from making that Senate pick. So is it possible that Obama and his people were aware? I mean, they were aware because we were talking to Rahm Emanuel that I was about to make this deal and didn't like it. It's speculation. I'm not going to rule out the possibility of it. To this day, I'm still trying to figure out exactly who was behind it, why they did it. But I do believe that prosecutor Fitzgerald, who incidentally is very close to James Comey, Mueller, they're all part of the same team that brought the fake Russian collusion allegations against Trump. I believe they're all part of a cabal within the Department of Justice and the people surrounding the Department of Justice. And these are the people that are the cancer in our political system. They're the ones who I think must be held to account for what they're doing and made an example of. But for that to happen, we need a president who's willing to take them on. It's among the reasons why I would urge all of your listeners to get behind President Trump and elect him so we can literally drain the swamp at the DOJ.
Isn't this also a failure, Rod, of the judges? And I say that because when the tools of the law are being manipulated. So, for example, there are tools like plea bargaining, and they have a legitimate purpose. But when they're used to bludgeon people who are not guilty into taking a guilty plea because they're facing, umpteen years of potential prison, then the whole system is out of whack. But isn't it the job of the judge to then sort of call foul on it? It looks like something very bad has happened in our judiciary. The judges, whether it's the FISA judges doing rubber stamps, are just going along with the process.
It's a very astute observation, and you're absolutely right. I was mistaken. I thought that if I fought back like I did, asserting my innocence, which I know is true, meeting my obligation as the governor of Illinois to protect the Constitution, the rule of law, sworn duty, and the Holy Bible that I took, that I had to fight back. I had no choice but to fight back because I knew what they were doing was so corrupt that I get a fair trial. And when they failed to convict me at a first trial, because they didn't, they then tried me a second time, and they used unlawful standards. They actually used literally a standard the Supreme Court said was not the law to get convictions for things that were legal. And I was, how can I say this? Not only disillusioned, but I was thunderstruck that the judge went along with everything the prosecutors were doing and was essentially a co-conspirator with the prosecutors. And then the appellate court that I thought would be fair and reasonable basically rubber stamped a lot of what was being done there, because there's a buddy system that the prosecutors and the judges and the appellate judges in some respects are all part of the same team, and they protect themselves. I believe The reason I could never get justice in that court, even though they did reverse the sale of the Senate seat, they still upheld free fundraising requests that were perfectly legal and kept me in prison. And if it wasn't for Trump, I'd have been there still till May of 2024. Would have been a 12.5-year time that I would have spent in prison. Instead, it was 8 years. Neither one was good. But I have total street cred on this subject because of what I've gone through and what I've seen. And your point about the judges is profound. And the idea that the American people just trust the court system is naive. And I was one of those people who did. All you got to do is go back to 1857 and see the top judge in America, Justice Taney. And he ruled in the Dred Scott case and said that no Black American can be a citizen of the United States and have the opportunity to go into a court. So the fact that we trust judges, I think history should show us that judges aren't always right and they're frequently wrong. And in some cases, many cases, all too many cases, they're part of that system in that courthouse, working with the prosecutors to move along the prosecutor's agenda rather than being the ones who are supposed to be the arbiters of justice.
I mean, equally disturbing to me is the fact that, here you have in the case of Biden and the Biden family, what appears to be genuine corruption. And by that, I mean large amounts of money from foreign entities flowing into the family's bank accounts. And this is documentable. So, you were accused of selling a Senate seat, but no money ended up in your pocket. Trump is accused of having onto these classified documents. I don't see a shred of evidence that any foreign entity or foreign spy got access to the Mar-a-Lago closet. And yet in Biden's case, you seem to have at least smoke, if not fire. Are you worried that this thing is going to be covered up, or do you think it's all going to come to light?
No, my experience tells me it's going to be covered up. They're still covering up what they did to me. 98% of those FBI tapes, they still won't release them. It'll show a very different story. It'll show the prosecutors to be the liars that they are. No, I'm very fearful about what's going to happen. And I don't trust that President Trump will get a fair trial. Here's what they're going to do, the federal prosecutors are going to do. They're going to do with the documents to Trump what they did to me with the tapes. They're going to conjure up some excuse where they don't have to show those documents. What they'll do in the Trump case is they'll just proclaim all of this stuff classified. They'll overclassify stuff. And because of that, they'll argue national security, and they'll say that we don't have to show these documents, even in a courtroom, to convict the accused, which is fundamentally, completely against what the rules of evidence are supposed to be in a courtroom and the rights of an accused to defend themselves. I'm predicting this is what they're going to do, those classified documents. And I've had some experience as a former congressman. I sat on the House Armed Services Committee before we went to war with Iraq. I voted for that war because we were lied to, that there were weapons of mass destruction there in Iraq. And I'm asking myself, could they possibly come in here and lie like this? I said they couldn't. They were patriots. They're Americans. These are the best and the brightest. Now we know that they did lie. So I've learned a lot of hard lessons in the intervening years. And I'm very fearful that President Trump, what he's facing when he goes to court, and hopefully he'll get that fair trial that we hope he gets. But I'm very fearful these prosecutors are going to use that overclassification excuse to not even show the evidence. And in probably many of those cases, those very documents that are claimed are classified are probably nothing, because they lie, they cheat, and they're corrupt.
Bad, very bad stuff. Rod Blagojevich, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dinesh, and thank you for the work that you're doing, because our country is at a crossroads and freedom is at stake.
Thank you.